What's up, everybody? It's Albert from TonalEnergy, and this is a quick glance over of all the new features in TonalEnergy 2.0. So the objective of this video is going to be to touch lightly on all the new features. Maybe here's something that you haven't heard of yet, or maybe I can throw out a quick idea. We'll do some more follow-ups later on through the social media and on the blog at TonalEnergy.com, but this is just to start getting you acquainted and understand some of the new cool things coming out in TonalEnergy. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll down here. This is a quick little website that I threw together just to kind of organize a bunch of ideas. I get a lot of questions specifically like, what are the new features here? You know, we have a post on the blog, and this is essentially the same information. It's just a little bit easier for me to sort through. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm at the Target Tuner page, okay? And these are some images from the Target Tuner page at the very beginning of the app. It's usually the first thing that you see. It's where Mr. Smiley Face makes his first appearance to most young students. The first new update feature is the auto tone tracker. Now, it's been there in many different iterations of TonalEnergy, but we've enhanced the coding on the back end, and it's incredibly fast. If you tap it and then highlight intervals or long press any of the intervals that are there, you can change what happens. And long short, you play, TonalEnergy plays sounds back at you based off of what you just heard. So another way to think about that, if you have it set to matching unison, if you play a concert F and it's a little bit flat, TonalEnergy recognizes that you're playing concert F and it plays back the in tune version of concert F. So you have your own personal accompaniment at all times. That's a cool little idea, a way to practice for your students. Let's go on to number 2, new target tuner features. So you tap right there on the little gear at the bottom left-hand side of the target tuner, and it's going to open up this window here. And the long short about this, there's a few more options. If you're fine with a target tuner, cool. You never want to touch this. If you like to explore and change things, maybe see some things like show note start, which kind of puts a little bracket around your new idea or your sound as soon as you make it, so you can see where your start of note actually was. We've also added some new features called show volume and show tone. All right, you can do a little calibration where you play sound in, and basically TonalEnergy will start responding to changes in your tone and changes in your volume. All right, scrolling down here, I just brought this up, number 4, the initial onset bracket. You can see this little highlight right there. Whenever I was playing and I screenshotted right there, that's where my sound started. And we tend to talk to students about, maybe they're scooping or starting high and adjusting their pitch. This is a way to visibly indicate, hey, your pitch started here and then you adjusted. There's a new interval trainer that is a part of the new window that's up here. And think like this, okay? I want you to think for a second. We see notes all the time, and we want all musicians to think in terms of intervals, because that's like the language of music, perfect fifth, perfect fourth, octave, minor third. So what the interval trainer does is it's listening to your notes, just like TonalEnergy always is, and from note to note, it's giving you the interval playback. So let's say your intent is to play a major third. It's going to be constantly reminding you, oh, you just played a major third. You just played a perfect fourth. Number 6, new quicker access to the string tuner and improved tuner bar. We have string players that use tuners, go figure. And it looks different, and it enhances how they get information for the string. So for those of you that teach multiple winds strings require, or you have different ways of approaching sounds, or you just want to show string players how to tune, tap the little string tuner button here in the top corner, and it'll switch over to a string tuner. And there's a whole plethora of different string tunings that you can have, from your traditional string quartet, guitar, bass, some very, very interesting instruments out there. All right, so we're down here in the new octave choice in pop-up, and the short about that is you select the key and octave you would like TonalEnergy to transpose to, and this is actually something that was asked by a musician. Can we adjust the octave for transposition? Absolutely. Some people want the octave to go up or down, so you're able to have TonalEnergy interpret that for you. So let's go ahead and flip to a new page. Ah, yes, the brand new activity page. Okay, ooh, highlighting things here. Think of this as a way to track what you do in TonalEnergy. All right, it's one thing to say how long you practiced, but how long did you practice what? And then if you go a step further, how in tune were you over time? So we start over here. This is the practice streaks page that is for most people set to open up right when you see TonalEnergy tells you how many days that you practiced. You touch the activity page, it's a little calendar button. You can also go to your main screens and tap up here where it says tap for activity, and a little window pops up with some options. Start new timed event, which is a cool idea that you can actually time, like you want to play for a minute and you play to scale, you're only going to be analyzing that 1 minute that you played the scale and not just the entire time the app was open. Show current session and show all activity, which takes you over to this window over here. And here's another one of my little phrases, the long short. You get basically a calendar view of every day that you've practiced with TonalEnergy, and you can see how much you use different features. Did you use the metronome? How many times or how long? Did you use the sound page? Did you use the recording button? How many times? How many recordings did you make? So it's another way to kind of just understand better your practice habits. So that was the activity page. We're going to scroll over here to sound page features. So now we're in the sound page, and you see that here at the top, sound page. So number 9, brand new pitch grid. This is very similar in terms of we have the tone wheel. It's a wheel that plays tones. And then we also have a keyboard feature and the string feature in the tuner. This is another way to visually represent tones, and it puts a lot more notes underneath your fingers as well to be able to get to faster pitches or create different chords. And you access that by tapping the sound button and tapping on pitch grid. Number 10, we have new sounds and expanded instrument ranges. This is another feature that a TonalEnergy musician requested. Specifically, it was a professional trombonist in California asking for a wider range for trombone, to not just limit it to stops here, but, to allow more sounds to be available to those young students to know, hey, there's more notes than just what your 1 octave scale says, or 2 octaves or 2.5. And, for professionals, they're always exploring past their register as well. So why not make it available? So thank you. And then number 10, we added new orchestral sounds as well. We'd like to know what you think there with the pluck string, strings full range, and a string quartet. Here we go, number 11, we expanded the key and temperament features. So here is, again, my long short. Some people are okay with tapping and seeing just temperament, which is the default temperament we have, equal or just in TonalEnergy. This allows you to have a little bit more control. Maybe you're exclusively practicing in the key of C. Maybe you're in a minor mode. This allows you to have more control over your practice. So once you open it up, explore, tap a few buttons, maybe even change your temperament. Number 12, this is a brand new feature here, and this is the button for the auto exercise creator. Okay, and I'll even read the little blurb. This allows the user to manually or automatically perform using TE sounds to play intervals and commonly used scales, arpeggios, chords, and exercises. Okay, so you see it pop up over here, and here's where you can get creative. When you press start, it starts playing in whatever key that you're in. You can create different scales. You can have it play at different intervals. There's a lot that can happen here. And my favorite part, being the teacher, is I want to play a scale along with kids, but playing along on a keyboard or even the buttons on the iPhone at sometimes for me, I just want to be able to press up and it follows them along. And I always have the right pitch when I press up or down, or I have an auto scale playing. It takes it out of my hands and I get to focus on teaching or listening to music. Good. All right. Moving right along. We just finished the sound page. Now we're in the analysis page. Okay, so number 13, racetrack view. So this is the analysis page, and this is a pretty standard view that we had when it went left to right. We kind of feel like the racetrack view kind of allows musicians to think in front of them instead of sound traveling left to right like you might see in an audio interface or something like that. You're actually seeing sound moving away from you. So that's just another visual way to kind of enhance how you're performing. There's also new pitch line choices. So if you tap, again, a new little gear right here, we have a little gear button, and you're able to enhance your practice by changing the view, whether you want a bigger line, smaller line, whether you want to see more of your tone, or you can actually see the beats in the analysis. Moving right along here, the interval trainer in the analysis view, okay, this is an excellent way, I think, for young musicians that you're just trying to get them to understand what intervals are, have them play 2 notes back and forth, and it's going to tell you, oh, look at that, you're playing a minor second, play it over and over again until you can't forget. Okay, but it also just allows you to explore music in a different way, thinking in terms of intervallic relationships. And the analysis page, volume and tone meter. So this kind of elaborates to earlier when I said that the new gear option, you're able to see TonalEnergy's interpretation of your volume and your tone and those changes within. These arrows point to the shapes of your volume and the shapes of your tone. And as your tone and volume changes, they change in intensity and color. So you're able to see variance. I would say a great use of this would be somebody that doesn't understand that their tone is changing after 5 seconds, or their volume is constantly starting at one volume and changing. If you see it moving, chances are those elements of their playing are changing as well. Moving along again, we just finished the analysis page. And now we're over to the metronome page. Tons of new sound combinations brought over from one of our friendly sister apps in Drum Jam. My personal favorite is the Drum Jam 808 because it sounds super cool and hip, and I really like the bump and bass. So explore those sounds and figure out how you like the different accents, non-accent, to silent tone, into triplet patterns, or whichever. It allows you to create an entirely different soundscape for the metronome. Preset editor additions. And this means like there's been so much already. I mean, it just gets better. You're able to create a preset now using different forms of time. So if you want to make a preset, let's say you're trying to program a click track in 4/4 time, well, then you would click with meter. Maybe you're doing a marching show, or you're creating music and you're just saying, I want 8 counts here, I want 12 counts here, I want 14 counts here. Well, you switch to just counts, and it makes the preset understand that this is only counts in the tempo that we're in. Or you can have a preset operate by time by setting time. I want this preset to run for 30 seconds. Or this could be an answer for some of us that are like, well, I like to program a click track, and I have a fermata, and we always rest for 4 seconds. Well, you set an empty preset for 4 seconds, and then it moves on to the next idea, and then you have consistency. How cool is that? And then additional preset features. Well, just look at that. We added drones to the presets. So not only can you program time, you can also program drone sounds to play at specific times. One of my favorite uses of this is I'll program the bass line of really simple tunes or our marching show or chorales so that the bass line is there. I could turn it on, turn it off as we're playing through. Maybe the students are singing, maybe they're humming, maybe they're playing on mouthpiece only. You always have the drone available in the preset. You don't have to worry about playing along. It's automatic. How cool is that? And number 18, Metronome Assistant is brand new. So this one is like its own like hour-and-a-half clinic on its own. But you know, reading there, you can set the metronome to automatically do tempo changes on its own. This is aside from presets. You just say after this amount of time or whichever, I want it to go up 5 beats per minute. These are fun. Use bar silencing and random beat silencing. You know, the metronome is cool, but we have to get off the metronome at some point. So you can adjust TonalEnergy to randomly set a percentage and drop a metronome bar, drop 144 bar. Or you can have it decide, I want there to be a 50% chance that this next beat will be silent. And, you know, having used this in practice with students, it's pretty eye-opening when students are just like, where is the beat? And then it comes back. You know, at least you know they were kind of listening, right? And then you can also set the metronome to run for a time limit. A favorite use for me is I like to tell my students you have 30 seconds to practice beginning to measure 7. So I turn the metronome on for 30 seconds, and when the metronome shuts off, they know it was 30 seconds. So again, TonalEnergy is taking your job out of your hands and doing a little bit more for you so that you could focus like, okay, I'm going to stare at this kid's embouchure right here and really understand what's going on. Or, you know, just have a second to breathe. You know, sometimes we need to do that. And then this brings us to our last page. I would say this is like a catch-all page. There are some of these things that are just didn't fit on a page by themselves. They're just available. Number 19, sound level mixer. And this is available on the tuner sound and analysis page of TonalEnergy. You swipe out from the right. So you swipe out from the right-hand side, and you're able to start mixing your sound with the metronome. And then additionally, you have a little input monitor here, which we recommend you use TonalEnergy with headphones as much as possible, especially in group settings. But you are able to balance the sound from TonalEnergy from the metronome. You can put a metronome in this ear, maybe the drones in this ear. You could even mix your own sound coming back at you so you can hear all of that in your headphones. How cool is that? Number 20, new tempo and pitch interval adjustment. This is on the recording studio on the left-hand side. When you swipe from the left-hand side of TonalEnergy's pages, you're able to adjust pitch of recordings. Maybe you recorded yourself at 80 beats per minute, but you want to know what it's going to sound like at double the tempo or faster or slower. This allows more flexibility to hear what you're actually doing. Maybe you want to hear your recording a half step down to hear what it sounds like. Or maybe you made a recording and you just want to hear the recording a half step down, and maybe you're trying to transpose with yourself. A lot of cool options here. And then number 21, reverb effects. TonalEnergy does have the ability to make recordings, as we talked about here in the little recording pane. You're able to adjust some reverb in there. You know, so instead of having to leave one location and go somewhere else to make a recording that has a little bit of enhancement, just a little bit of something added to it, you're able to do that on your own inside of TonalEnergy. And then our last feature that's been there, but we moved it here, is the vibrato button on the tone page. So my number one reasoning for this is you're a trumpet player trying to teach saxophone vibrato, or even better, you're a French horn player trying to teach flute vibrato, or a percussionist, you know, no shame, having to teach anything of vibrato, and you can't wheel out the old vibes with the motor. You can't find the power cord. You're able to turn on vibrato and customize your settings in vibrato. So whether you want it to be faster or slower, whatever sounds the best to you. And then here's my number, above top use. Then you can teach the kids to do that. And then when they go home and practice, they have their own vibrato instruction. So when they come back, they don't play with that nanny going, wah, 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 I practice vibrato. Well, they practice the vibrato that you set. I want it to be here. Here's your vibrato. Why don't you go ahead and do it like this? So there you have it. That's all of the 22 new features in the TonalEnergy 2.0 update. I hope that you had fun, watching this with me. Lots of cool things. If you have questions, remember, send us an email, support@tonalenergy.com. Mull over this, think, how can this apply to you? Write it down. Hope you enjoyed this. Lots more to come from Tonal Energy. As always, remember to like, follow, and subscribe to all of our social media. Stay safe, and until next time, stay smiley.